guys, this is Mrs. Bolin here with your notes for 11.2. We are going to be factoring trinomials when the leading coefficient is equal to 1, meaning we've got three terms with an x squared and there's no number out in front. So first we're going to do some little puzzles though that will help you with today's assignment. So the puzzle is these two numbers, we're going to fill it out. The top little part of our x is the product, which means we multiply. So 5 times -2 is -10. And the bottom cell is when we add them up. So +5 and -2 makes a +3. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to multiply them to get the top, so -40. And then I'm going to add them to get the bottom, so -6. So now I'm going to say, oh, well, this is, what would I add with 9 to make 4? So it's going to have to be something negative, right, for it to go all the way down to 4. Well, I need to add a -5 for it to go down to 4. And then I fill in the top is the product. So -5 times +9 would be -45. Well, now here's the question. If they add to make 6, but times to make 5, what could those two numbers be? They have to times to make 5. So like 1 and 5. Do those add up to make 6? Yes, and I solved the puzzle. Okay, so when we are factoring, we are doing a FOIL problem, but backwards. So we're giving you the answer to when you multiply two binomials. We're giving you the trinomial answer, and you have to figure out what was the original problem. So I'm going to help you guys out with this. One method is using an X puzzle. I'm going to show you a little bit different method. So I know different students learn different ways. So this is just a different way to look at it. If it confuses you, turn off the video and just go back and ask your teacher. But hopefully this will be helpful to you. So what we're doing is we're trying to figure out if this is the answer when I multiply two sets of parentheses like this, where I've got two things being added or subtracted, and this is the answer. What was the original question? So remember when we were foiling, we were doing our box, and we had an X and an X, and then this one's all positive, so I know it's gonna be a plus and a plus. And to get this last number, I just multiplied those two numbers to get the last. But for this middle one, we added it up, okay? So what I need to think about is what are all the things that multiply to make 16? 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. And then once you get to the same number, you can stop because all of the other options would already be up here. So I need to see which one of those options makes 10. Because I know it multiplies to make 16. Well, I need to see which ones add up to make 10. Well, 1 plus 16 is 17. 2 and 8 make 10. 4 and 4 do not. So I know the answer to this is 2 and 8. So this is our answer. You can check your answer by doing the box. Remember when we were multiplying them and we used the box, or you could FOIL or repeated distribution. So if you think about having, I'm going to check my answer here. I had x plus 2 and I have x plus 8. So I have x times x is x squared. X times 8 is 8x. X times 2 is 2x. And 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. And so remember the way that I got this 16, and by the way, we're going to get it equal to this. The way that I got the 16 was the 2 times the 8. And because these are like terms, I'm going to add them up. And so remember, if we do all that, okay, well, we've got the x squared. I'm going to combine my like terms. I'm adding the 2 and the 8, and I'm getting 10x. And then I multiply the 2 and the 8, and I had a 16 there at the end. Okay, is this the problem I started with? Yes, it is. So that means that I did this right. So all factoring is saying, I'm going to start by giving you the answer, and I need you to figure out what were the things that we were multiplying by. Okay, so let's try another one of those. This one's a little bit harder because there's a minus in here, but let's think about what that could be. So I always have my students start by writing the parentheses, and then we put a b in each one of those because we have b squared. I know that b times b is b squared. I know that I have to multiply to make a positive. That means the signs have to be the same. So it's either plus plus or minus minus. Okay, well then you have to say, well, they have to add up to make 7 or negative 7. So that means that there's no way I can add two positives and get a negative number. So I know they both have to be negative. Okay, so anytime this last sign is a plus, you know it's either going to be plus plus or minus minus. Okay, and so then what I have my students do is we start with the 10 because that's what it had to multiply by. Remember how we got the 16 right there? I did 2 times 8. And so we're giving you the 16 and you're trying to find what were the things we multiplied by. Well, there's a few things that make 10, right? A couple. Yeah, just a couple, sorry. We've got 1 times 10. 2 can go into it 5 times. 3 can't, 4 can't, 5 can, but it's already up here, so we stop. And remember, these are all negatives, and I need to see which ones of those will add up to make the middle term, which is negative 7. So I put the 2 and the 5, and that's my answer. Okay. So we're going to do a few more of these together. Hopefully now that we kind of understand what we're doing and why, hopefully these ones will go a little bit quicker. So again, parentheses, parentheses. Some of you guys might just look at this and see, oh, 7 and 3, right? But some of you guys, I know it takes a little bit more time. So I'm going to try and work with you to try to figure out the best way to get there. You could do this little X puzzle thing. I prefer to have my students write out all the factors. So we're going to put this one at the top, so negative 21. And we're going to list everything that goes into it. 1 can go into it. Can 2? No, it's not even. 3 can go into it 7 times. 4 can't, 5 can't, 6 can't, 7 can, but it's already up there. Anytime we have to multiply to make a negative, I know that 1 has to be positive and 1 has to be negative. Well, look here, when I add them up, so I'm going to go ahead and put a plus and a minus. Anytime I add them up and I get a positive, that means all the bigger numbers have to be positive. So what we need to say is then all the smaller numbers would be negative. So now we need to say which one of those, when I add them up, I get positive 4. Well, hopefully you guys can see pretty easy. It's the negative 3 and the positive 7. And so that's our answer. Okay, question number 6. We're going to move right along here. If I'm going too fast, you pause me so you can catch up. If I'm going too slow, play me at 2x. All right. Question number 6, I'm going to start by writing the parentheses. I'm going to put an N on each side. I'm going to take this answer here that I know is the product. And remember, anytime the product is negative, I have to have a plus and a minus, right? And so I'm going to put that negative 12 right here. And I'm going to start with 1. Can 1 go in? Yep, 12 times. Can 2 go in? Yep, 6 times. Can 3 go in? 4 times. Can 4 go in? It can, but 4 is already on my list, so I stop. Okay, well now I know that the answer when I add those is going to be a negative. So all the bigger numbers have to be negative, which means all the littler numbers have to be positive. Because remember, I had to have one of each to multiply to make a negative. So now I'm going to say, how do I get a negative 4? Well, this one gives me negative 11. That one gives me negative 4. So I'm going to put a 2 by the plus and a 6 by the minus, and I'm done. Okay, problem number 7. Lots of problems. Okay, so I'm going to start by writing the parentheses. I'm going to start by putting an X. I know when this is positive, it's either plus plus or minus minus. Well, look at what it has to add to. It has to add to a negative, so I know it's going to be a minus minus. So I always have my students start with this because you've got something down. It's not just IDK. You've started with some part of the answer. So that's partial credit in my book. If you know that you're multiplying binomials, you know that you should have an X in each one. Now we just have to figure out what those numbers are. But it puts a place so that when we figure it out, we just pop them in there, right? So I'm going to start by taking this 27, positive 27, and I'm going to see everything that can go in there. 2 can't, but 3 could. 3 times 9. 4 can't, 5 can't, 6 can't, 7 can't, 8 can't, 9 can, but it's already on my list, so I stop. So now I know that they were right? Sorry. Look back here, both negatives. So I'm going to put negative, 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 and I'm going to see which one makes negative 12. Well, it's this one right here. So I'm going to put a 3. And since they're both negative, it doesn't matter what order we put them in, but somewhere on there. Okay, and that was our answer. And remember, you can always go back to this little box and check your answer and make sure that you did it right. But we're pretty confident here, right? Negative 12, positive 27, looks good, right? When I add them up and when I multiply them. Okay, so we're gonna do another one. We've got M and M. Anytime it's a negative, I know there's gonna be 1 plus and 1 minus. So I'm gonna take the negative 18 and I'm gonna list all the things that make negative 18. 1 goes in, 2 goes in, 3 goes in, 4 can't, 5 can't, 6 can, but it's already up there, so I'm done. So now I say, well, what was the answer when I added them? The answer was positive. So that means all the bigger numbers need to be positive and all the smaller numbers are going to be negative so that I get a positive answer. So now I need to say, well, I'm looking for a positive 3. There it is. When I add those up, I get positive 3. So notice that the 3 has the negative, so I'm going to write it next to the minus. The 6 has the positive, so I'm going to write it next to the plus, and I'm done. Okay, question number 9. This is a long one, huh? We're going to get through it. And then we've got just the odds on the homework to do for the rest of this video. And then hopefully you'll be able to figure out the evens on your own. Okay, so this one again, start with the parentheses. Ooh, we got a Q this time, mixing it up. This is a negative, so we know that we're going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. If you guys want to put that in your notes, if C is positive, you know it's either going to be plus plus or minus minus. If C is negative, you know it's always going to be a positive and a negative. Okay, oops. It would help if I showed you what I was writing. So you can pause it and add that to your notes if that's helpful. If not, just keep working on the problems with me. Okay, so I'm going to take this negative 9, and I know I have a plus and a minus, and I'm going to write the negative 9, and I'm going to list all the things that make 9. 1 and 9 and 3 and 3 is it. And then I know that because my answer is positive, the bigger numbers get a positive and the smaller numbers get the negative. Well, this one makes 0, so I know that can't be it. So 9 take away 1, that is indeed positive 8. So the negative is by the 1, so I'm going to put the 1 by the minus. The 9 is positive, so I'm going to put the 9 by the plus. And that is my answer. Okay, question number 10. Everything's positive. Easy peasy on this one. And there's not that much that makes 14, right? So I'm going to put A and A. I'm going to put plus and plus. I'm going to take the 14, and I'm going to say 1 times 14, 2 times 7. Nothing else can go in, you guys. So we're done. Everything's positive. I just need to see which one of these makes 9. And so sure enough, 2 and 7. So plus 2 plus 7. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the homework. And again, I'm just going to do the odds. Hopefully you guys can look at the odd problems and that will help you on the even problems. So again, this is your homework though, so I want to make sure that you're doing part of this, not just copying down. All right, so question number 1, we're starting out with some super easy problems here with all of our pluses. So we're going to start by writing our 2 parentheses. I'm going to put a Z in each one. I like to put a little line through my Z just so that it doesn't get mistaken as a 2, but you don't have to do that. Everything's positive, so I'm going to write plus, plus. I'm going to take this last number here, the 21, and I'm going to make a list. 1 goes into it, 2 can't, 3 can, 4 can't, 5 can't, 6 can't, 7 can, but it's already up there, so I stop. So then I'm going to say what makes 10? Well, 3 plus 7 makes 10, so I'm going to put a 3 and a 7, and I'm done. All right, question number 3. I'm going to start by putting the 40 over here, and I'm going to put my parentheses with the Y. Everything's positive, so I know I can just put plus, plus. And then, oops, sorry about that. We're going to list the things that make 40. 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 3 can't go in, 4 can go in, 4 times 10, 5 times 8, 6 can't go in, 7 can't go in, 8 can, but it's already written. So what makes 13? 5 and 8. So a plus 5 and a plus 8. And I am done with that problem. Not too bad, right, you guys? Once we practice it a lot, it starts to get a little bit easier, I hope. So we're going to go on to problem number 5. Remember, we're going to start with our parentheses, k squared. So we're going to put a k in each one. Whenever it's a plus, in order to multiply to get a plus, I know the signs have to be the same. It's either going to be plus plus or minus minus. And since this one is a negative 10, I know they both have to be negative to be able to add up to a negative number, because two positives will never be negative. Okay, so I'm going to take this 24 and I'm going to list all the things that make 24. And it's helpful if you just start at the beginning with 1. 1 can go in, 2 can go in, 3 can go in, 4 can go in, 5 can't, 6 can, but it's already up there. So again, you can look for it on the multiplication chart on the back of your book and see if you see it. We're going to look for, oh, and we know that they're all negatives, okay? So I'm going to go minus, 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 boop, boop. And I want to see what makes negative 10. So this one right there makes negative 10. So minus 4 and minus 6. And so all of these ones, it's been kind of our last option. But if you're going through this and you realize that you already got to an answer, you don't have to keep doing all the rest of them if you know that your answer is already right. Okay, let's look at number 7. We have z and z. And then because this is a minus, I know one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So a plus and a minus. I'm going to take the negative 18 and list all the factors. So I've got 1 can go in, 2 can go in, 3 can go in, 4 can't, 5 can't, 6 can. You could also look, hey, we already did it on page 113. But be really careful here because they're opposite signs, and I want the bigger one to be positive because that answer is positive. So I'm going to put a plus next to all the bigger numbers and then a minus next to all the little numbers. And I'm going to see which one makes a positive 7. Well, it happens to be 9 and negative 2. So 9 goes by the plus and negative 2. So the 2 goes by the negative or by the minus. Okay. Almost done, you guys. Hang in there. Okay, question number 9. We're going to start by drawing our parentheses. We're going to put an M on each one. Because it multiplies to make a negative, that means one has to be plus, one has to be minus. And we're going to make the long list of all the things that multiply to make 7, which would be just 1 and 7. I was using sarcasm there. Okay, and so we need to see, well, the answer is going to be negative, so the bigger one needs to be negative. So there it is, a positive 1 and a negative 7. And that will indeed multiply to make negative 7 and add up to make negative 6. All right, for the last problem, we got a word problem here. So just skip it. No, I'm just kidding. We don't skip those. We're going to work through it. So question number 10, it says a projector displays an image on a wall. The area in square feet of the projection is represented by, why would you represent it by a trinomial? Come on. Okay, write a binomial that represents the height of the projection. Find the perimeter of the projection with the height of the wall. Okay, so we know that, and this technically shouldn't be x, I don't think, because it's a different x than here. So what we're trying to find out is if one of the factors is x minus 3, what is the other factor? Well, I know it has to have an x. I know it has to multiply to make a positive 15. So negative times a negative would be a positive. And 3 times what makes 15? A 5. So since we already know that the width is x minus 3, then we know the height is x minus 5. Okay, so this right here, just that part of it is the height, because I know that when we multiply them, it gets this. Okay, so then it says find the perimeter of the projection when the height of the wall is 8 feet. Okay, so if the height, x minus 5, is equal to 8 feet, then we would have to solve for what x is. So plus 5, so x equals 13. So if this is 8 and this is 8, then the width is x minus 3. So 10 take away 3. Sorry, I'm already doing the answer. 13 take away 3 would be 10. So if this is 10 and this is 10, the perimeters just add up all the sides, okay? So then we would say 10 plus 10 is 20, 8 plus 8 is 16, 20 plus 16 is 36 feet. All right, and that is it. Oh, and I just realized I didn't have to do number 10 because it was an even problem. Helped you out there. All right, have a great day.